Back in August, I became morbidly fascinated with the discourse surrounding the song Home by Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros. In my research, I stumbled upon a strange hornet's nest of unsubstantiated rumors I thought would be interesting to look into and deconstruct. I also waded through a great deal of opinions about the song and Stomp Clap Hey, the genre it belongs to, two of which caught my eye. These are those classic pseudo-intellectual Twitter tweets that are really nothing more than a block of sophistry with a few buzzwords taped to it. But because I was so entrenched in all of these posts and comments, I asked myself, what if this one time I took a couple of these pseudo-intellectual tweets that I see all the time that drive me up the wall and actually held them up to scrutiny? What if I genuinely tried to engage with what they were saying and see if they contain any level of veracity? Well, I'll tell you what happens. You make a video that's way too long for the topic you're discussing, you decide to split it in two, you get the first part out, you feel good because you have a jump on your next video, then you get sick, you go to the hospital, you get sick off the medicine that the hospital gives you, then as soon as you're off of that medicine, you get sick with some sort of hay fever influenza that's going around, and so, because you're so sick and tired of the mortal coil, you sign a contract with an ill-reputable startup company to get yourself uploaded to the internet. The procedure somehow works, and you're granted technical immortality so long as none of the cloud servers around the world are firebombed. But you discover that if you were uploaded while sick, you remain sick after the upload forever. So that's where I'm at. But anyway, if you've ever wanted to see someone pick apart some pretentious tweets, no doubt formulated, uploaded, and posted in the span of 2 minutes, and all of this for something that hasn't been relevant in months, welcome home. And if that doesn't interest you at all, maybe, subscribe for the next one. Surely I'll get it right next time.
I'm so tired of this video, man.
Stomp Clap Hey is a now pejorative phrase that encompasses what NBC News calls the rustic pop indie folk subgenre that dominated the early to mid 2010s, best defined by its anthemic, often percussion-heavy sound made famous by the Lumineers, Mumford & Sons, and of Monsters and Men. It's the kind of quirky music tailor-made for Coachella and Bonnaroo, group sing-alongs, hand claps, and yes, literally stomping and shouting, hey, that reigns supreme in the millennial hipster zeitgeist. I actually chose this definition because it read as the most millennial one I could find, and I wanted to stay on brand. As a total aside, this news article quotes a tweet with 7 likes, which I think is kind of funny. But that does bring me to a point I'd like to make before delving into this section, regarding why what I think I'm about to do is, I wouldn't say important, but not without grounds. Twitter, despite everything it's gone through, still commands a massive pull in online discourse. The tweet that started this entire thing has 97.4 million views at the time of recording. The 2 tweets I'm going to tackle in this segment both respectively have 733 and 839,000 views, and a small percentage of those people may have actually read them. And I want to tackle these 2 specifically because to me, they encapsulate firstly how completely brain-rotten Twitter discourse has become, but also, in following the theme of this video, how easy it is to convince yourself that something is true just by saying it, no citations required. But let's rewind for a moment. What was the Twitter discourse surrounding this song? Well, as I mentioned very briefly long ago, I charitably give the sentiment around Home and Stomp Clap a 50-50 schism. One side, the defenders, all essentially say the same thing, a variation on you had to be there, in essence the comme il faut way of saying you wouldn't get it. The other half absolutely abhors the song, and by extension, Stomp Clap as a whole. Within this hatred are smaller subgroups. The first, predictably for X the Everything app, being bigoted reactionaries spouting transphobic and otherwise prejudiced nonsense. Oh hey everyone, look! It's Meme Bastard! Let's see what our favorite goofy meme Twitter account is up to these days. Oh. Don't worry, this account gets no engagement at all anymore. I do wonder how many times it's changed hands over the years. Well, I hope that $5 is worth it, you sick little Ninja Turtle. The other subgroup within the larger hater group is, again, the one peddling the same drug addiction rumors like fact without any evidence whatsoever. We covered them. Then we arrive at the one I'm most interested in, the Twitter intelligentsia. This is the milieu of X the Everything app that I find most intriguing because I view them as the abyss that I myself stare into. For context, this is a group that has a bias that we all have, which is that, we're always right. But unlike many of us, these people have been rewarded for that bias by way of likes and retweets. And that reinforcement has mutated the bias into a full-on compulsion. A compulsion that leads them to believe that if they dislike something, whatever it is, must be morally wrong in some way. Or otherwise, they'd have to admit they're being monstrously cruel about everything because they're sadists. If you're not following yet, which, I really don't blame you, I think you'll see exactly what I mean when I show you the two tweets I want to discuss. Two wildly popular mutations of the Stomp Clap Sucks discussion that I want to contest because I feel they really strike right into the heart of where I think this whole thing has gone lopsided. Why have people latched onto this song now? What about this music in this era are people reacting so strongly to? What do they find so repulsive? Well, these two tweets attempt to put it into words. And yeah, it's political. I completely blame Obama for Stomp Clap Hey music. He sold the world an optimistic neoliberal lie. Okay, get ready for this one. Stomp Clap Hey music is the perfect relic of the Obama era. Inexplicably ascendant movement built from the worst bits and pieces of the past, cobbled together into vaguely hopeful yet ultimately meaningless chants and slogans. Is that how I sound? Now, these two caught my eye because they capture, in said eye, the exact cultural context of right now, by providing the inverse they claim this song encapsulates as a representative of its era, an optimistic, hopeful time. And yes, at the time of recording, I would definitely say that the pendulum has swung far away from that Obama-esque feeling of American progress. And in this song, these users see a remnant of a time that lied to their faces, told them things were going to be okay from now on. Home by Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros was their Pied Piper song. And I feel like a lot of the people who hate this song are latching onto that aspect of it, the cringe, the uncomfortable vulnerability of a love song without the guise of characters, a song for Jade and Alex, sung to each other. It's ascribed this meaning to Stomp Clap Hey music, to this song, and though I wouldn't go so far as to say every person repulsed by this song would agree with these points, it's put into words a very clear narrative that obviously resonated with a lot of people. But here's a question. Does any of this, make sense at all? Is it really true? I don't think so. So let's start with this twittellectual word salad here, because everything I say can be applied to the shorter one, so I can breeze through that one, then I can go back to playing PlayStation Fortnite as Butthead from Beavis and Butthead. Back to the old brain fryer, that's what I call it. Okay, let's start out here. Stomp Clap Hey music, we covered that, is the perfect relic of the Obama era. So that's 2008 to 2016, roughly. And because we're specifying the era as under the purview of Obama's presidency, we're going to be looking at this through a somewhat political, socio-economic lens. Inexplicably ascendant movement. Okay, first pause. Come on, man. What a Twitter way to say that. The thing is, I'd say the Stomp Clap Hey movement was rather explicably ascendant. The Rolling Stone puts it pretty well in my opinion. The early 2010s folk stomp boom came during the post-recession years as economically unstable millennials turned to music marketed as authentic just as social media became an everyday part of their lives. To add on to that, it's very easy to see how the very shiny techno landscape of the aughts in music and otherwise led people to gravitate towards something that promised ostensibly to be a little more rustic and natural. And it just so happened that after the housing crash, the only instruments people could afford were the jug band classics. As technology became ever more prominent in people's lives, people found this anachronistic genre and aesthetic, if not comforting, then at the very least novel. And I think it's interesting to look back on how strangely juxtaposed this musical movement was to the otherwise tech-centric 2010s. But it clearly resonated with people as an alternative to what they had been given before, just like how Obama's first campaign capitalized on America's exhaustion and pessimism in the years following 9/11 by promising hope, progress, and change. Also rather explicably ascendant, I would say. Now, was that really what we got? I mean, was authenticity what we got in Stomp Clap Hey, a genre that was immediately and mercilessly co-opted by the mainstream to sell Belgian white, Belgian-style wheat ale brewed with natural flavor? Well, I mean, that's a different conversation. Or set of conversations. Not fun ones. But, inexplicably ascendant, neither were. Next, we have built from the worst bits and pieces of the past. I guess I find this idea sort of interesting, like the concept of America as a crumbling empire that from its inception sort of piecemealed itself into this historical disaster by co-opting different aspects of every country preceding it until each respective consequence of each piece all bubbled up into whatever we're living in now. But this was referring to the Obama era. And I can tell you, I don't think things back then really hit the boiling point they have lately, or may very soon. Also, this is specifically referring to Stomp Clap Hey, and, no. This genre is very obviously derivative of one pretty specific bit and/or piece from the past. The good old Southern hoedown. Now, I think there's a lot to be said about Southern culture and the seediness, violence, and cruelty that permeates its past and present, but Stomp Clap Hey from its inception was very clearly intended to be a heavily sanitized version of it, and at the very least, I think it's highly disingenuous to frame this genre as some sort of amalgamation of all the darkest moments in human history. Twee, perhaps, worse than the Black Death. So on multiple levels, I also disagree with that. Now here's the big chunk. Cobbled together into vaguely hopeful, yet ultimately meaningless chants and slogans. So we need to take this in aggregate. Vaguely hopeful, yet ultimately meaningless. So because this is meant to apply to the entire Obama era, I'm going to start with Obama. So we have these political posters and Obama's campaign slogans. And I mean, yeah, they're all just about as vapid as any other campaign slogan. Is it fair to pin this exclusively on Obama? Are we going to pretend there haven't been a whole lot of politicians and political eras with a lot worse, even more vaguely hopeful yet ultimately meaningless chants and slogans?
National crusade to make America great again.
Say what? In a vacuum, it's easy for any chant or slogan to seem meaningless without the context surrounding it. I'll also note that the Obama era, and let me be clear, not specifically because of Obama, saw a few very powerful and meaningful slogans in its time. In racking my brain to find a slogan I could confidently call vaguely hopeful yet ultimately meaningless, I decided upon Coney 2012. I think that one fits the criteria pretty well, but mainly only because of the movement's failure. It did mean something specifically, get rid of Joseph Kony, save the children. It was the how that rendered the whole thing meaningless. So then what's left here? Hamilton lyrics? I mean, what are we doing? I don't think there's any reason whatsoever to pin the concept of meaningless chants and slogans on this era specifically. To be honest, I think that Trump's first term saw a lot more of this than we ever did in the Obama era. I mean, fake news, drain the swamp, Covfefe. Remember Covfefe? What could mean less than Covfefe? Even on the anti-Trump side of things, we had, "He will not divide us." Remember, "He will not divide us"? Look, I think Shia LaBeouf has gotten enough gruff for that, but I think is a perfect example of an aimless chant that was paired with a style of protest that achieved nothing and, indeed, seemed really to be intended as a form of performance art over anything else. But this tweet wasn't entirely about politics and social movements. It was also about... I forgot what we were talking about. Oh right, Home by Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros. I mean, look, as I said in the beginning, this video started out as an attempt to lyrically analyze the song. Then I read the lyrics. And yeah, I'll certainly concede there's not much there, but I wouldn't call it vaguely hopeful. I don't feel like these characters are hoping for much of anything. They're content in their love for each other. Surely much of the imagery is vague and often appears to lack meaning or even any sort of logic, but not the actual hook or meaning of the song. I mean, yeah, you're only gonna get out of it what you give to it, but home is wherever I'm with you. It's saying these characters don't need a geographical location to feel a sense of belonging. They only need each other. And here's another thing. Is this sort of tone really representative of that genre? Well, before we get into that, let's go to the other tweet. Bye, Robert. Does the amateur anthropology ever get old? Nope. Hence why I'm still posting. Then they went on to call the Paste magazine performance of Wheatus's Teenage Dirtbag evil. Come on, man. I think it's a good performance. I think our differences are just too great. Alright, here we are. I completely blame Obama for Stomp Clap Hey music. He sold the world an optimistic neoliberal lie. So I'm gonna need to make a few leaps with this one, because it has the markings of a classic tweet, wherein half a point is made, but absolutely no elaboration or evidence is provided. So I'm going to do my best to parse this in tandem with what I've already discussed, and what I can glean from the comments below. We have Obama in focus again, this time placing the blame for Stomp Clap Hey on him because of the optimistic neoliberal lie he sold the world. Well, given that Stomp Clap Hey is the result of this optimistic neoliberal lie, I'm going to make the assumption that the term neoliberal here is being used pejoratively and without much of the economic context of the term coming into play. I think the idea here is, forgive me, the vibe of neoliberalism. Hope, progress, the past is the past, surely nobody has any baggage from it. The future is going to be an epic utopia, and have you seen the new iPhone? It's got even better cameras! That's still happening. Well, I agree that's what Obama was going for campaign-wise. And, it's a shtick he sort of kept up throughout both of his terms. I think it's true that the Obama era, especially its pop culture media, was defined by a false celebration that our nation's troubles were behind us, and an exaltation of national history and historical figures that were intentionally sanitized in ways that were unhelpful and often a form of propaganda in itself. But is this true of Stomp Clap Hey music? I mean, here's you referencing the Lumineers. Are you blaming Barack Obama for the Lumineers? Yes, your name is quite Stomp Clap Hey, just saying. But let's take a look at the Lumineers' crowning achievement, what I would personally call the definitive Stomp Clap Hey song, Hey Ho. Is this really all that optimistic of a song? I've been trying to do it right. Hey. I've been living a lonely life. Ho. I've been sleeping here instead. Hey, I've been sleeping in my bed. Ho, sleeping in my bed. Hey, ho, ho. So show me family. Hey, all the blood that I would bleed. Ho, I don't know where I belong. Hey, I don't know where I went wrong. Ho, but I can write a song. Hey. Now granted, the song has a chippy chorus. I belong with you, you belong with me, you're my sweetheart. That's nice. But wait. Good heavens! Verse 3 drops a bombshell! I don't think you're right for him. Hey, look at what it might have been if you, ho, took a bus to Chinatown. Hey, I'd be standing on Canal, ho, and Bowery. Hey, ho, she'd be standing next to me. Hey! Well, it's still a love song, but it isn't a reciprocal love song. In fact, it's a pining song. This song takes on a whole new meaning if you pay attention to it. It's actually exactly how you'd expect a hipster to react about a lady who wants him to leave her alone. Those hey-hoes are hey-hoes of longing. He's lonely. Love, we need it now, says he. Let's hope for some, 'cause we're bleeding out. And I generally feel like this was the prevailing tone for the Stomp Clap Hey movement. I Will Wait by Mumford & Sons isn't a song about a guy waiting for his love to come back from a real job. Maybe it is. But regardless, it doesn't read like a cozy pastoral. Much of it feels evocative of imagery from the rapture. These days of dust, which we've known, will blow away with this new sun. But I'll kneel down, wait for now, and I'll kneel down, know my ground. And I will wait for you, and I will wait I will wait for you. This doesn't make me feel like our troubles are all behind us. Makes me feel like I'm in middle school, waiting for middle school to be over. But middle school is life. Maybe it always has been. And I think it's pretty telling that someone like Father John Misty is also being looped into this Stomp Clap Hey sphere. Not a musician I would necessarily call the spirit of optimism.
Digital Cole, back again. What? It's your fan favorite. I just wanted to add Little Talks. I forgot to mention Little Talks. It's a song about a wife talking to her dead husband. Really not quite the optimistic tune, I would say. And again, a staple of the Stomp Clap genre, Little Talks of Monsters and Men. Never upload yourself onto the internet. Please! This is a warning. Never...
I think of all the most popular Stomp Clap Hey songs, Home is the most cheerful by far. But is it really indicative of an optimistic neoliberal lie? I mean, I don't think so. It's a song about fanatic love. A love that rejects society wholesale. Now, to be clear, I don't think these tweets were entirely because these people just wanted to say whatever. I do believe that's about, 85 to 90% of it. But really, I think a pretty simple mistake has been made. See, what I think these people are describing specifically are pop songs. But not just any pop songs. I'm talking about those mid to late 2010s pop songs that did in fact incorporate some degree of stomping, clapping, and haying. Songs with uncanny, vaguely optimistic lyrics that made your stomach turn, made you wonder why you even walked into the Gap to begin with. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Fight song.
This is my fight song.
Roar.
Held me down, but I got up.
See, this is what I'd wager these people are really thinking of. I mean, yeah, it's pop music. This is how pop music has always been. Music built from the worst bits and pieces of the past, cobbled together into vaguely hopeful yet ultimately meaningless chants and slogans. You're talking about mainstream pop music! That's what you've been talking about the whole time! Yeah, and the 2010s were pretty dire. These songs are cultish, anthemic in ways that feel like manipulation veiled beneath a very loud kick drum. Why were the kick drums so loud? I vividly remember being bothered by these songs back then. I'm still bothered by them now. That being in both instances an opinion that gets me razzed. But there's a difference now. I can delete your comments. That's right. I hate fun. I hate joy. I hate 2010s pop bangers. And I am pro-censorship. I'd tell you to sue me, but someone already did. And I already lost. Yeah, I called Katy Perry a nun killer, and let me tell you, that next space shuttle ride, it's on my dime. Yeah, I'm flat broke. But does this not make perfect sense? These Obama-era pop songs have to be what these people are thinking of. They fit the bill perfectly. Like, what is actual Obama more likely to be listening to? Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros or Charlie XCX? Demonstrably, Charlie XCX. And no shade to Charlie XCX, by the way. I just, boom clap though. I mean, you want to talk about a fault in our stars. Get it? I think in the ensuing brain rot of the last 10 to 15 years, it all must have gotten jumbled up in their fickle minds. Like, go back and listen to the Kyle Gordon parody of The Time again. And yes, it's very clear that he's aesthetically taken on an Edward Sharpe Luminarian look and character. But listening to the song sonically, I'd say it has a lot more in common with the pop music of the time than Stomp Clap Hey. I mean, by God, there's no stomping, clapping, or even a hey. Although there does appear to be a solitary ho. Now, I will acknowledge that this entire segment has one massive flaw. I took tweets from Twitter at face value. Obviously, each of these tweets, and every tweet I've shown in this entire video, are actually steeped and congealed in 15 layers of irony. And with each assumption I made, I took a wrong turn in the labyrinth of the Twitter user's non-Euclidean mind. Really, a cosmic joke has been played on me, and it will take me years, possibly decades, to discover how badly I've been owned today. But I did it anyway. I engaged with these tweets and attempted to parse their meaning. And why? Why did I go through all this trouble today over some stupid song I don't even really like? Because I'm mentally ill. This stupid song has been going viral every 3 months for the past 2 years. In fact, it seems to have some sick symbiotic relationship with going viral. And each time it goes viral, it seems like people care less and less about the actual context of the song, what the song is, who's singing the song, what the song represents, etc. I saw something in this online perseveration that really opened my eyes to how destroyed the internet is in its modern state. Various social media platforms crashing out over something extremely stupid and cringe is a time-honored tradition. But this is something different, man. This is like inventing a fictional world by riffing back and forth in a language of lies, then treating that world as reality, parading around within it as though you were in the 100-acre woods, just to forget about it, then reinvent it again every quarter of the year for the past 2 years. And this part of the video, the Twitter takes, may seem a lot less notable than the drug addiction rumors flying around that I wanted to address first, but I think it's part of the same problem. What I wanted to show here is something that happens quite often on Twitter especially, but also most certainly the entire internet. It goes back to this compulsion to morally and intellectually justify bullying online. The fact is, the people who don't like it because it's cringe. I really think that, stripping all the filigree away, that's what you're left with. The internet has always been very mean, because the anonymity makes them feel like they can really let their true feelings out. And I definitely wouldn't advocate for bullying, as the older pantheon of content creators have in the past. But, I do think there is an area where it's okay to laugh at something, or share something that you think is kind of goofy. It's just that people take it too far really, really quick. And to me, what's just as bad as taking that joking entirely too far is inventing moral justifications around things you hate and want to make fun of to try and maintain some intellectual high ground over everyone else. And that's really what Twitter specifically is, in essence. It's an app designed to enable sharing intrusive thoughts that has attracted a user base of people who think their thoughts can change the world, but also greatly appreciate the character limit because that allows them to forego including any corroborating evidence to what they say. It's an app designed for people to post essays that can only be the length of thesis statements. That sucks. And this home debacle to me is just so much more flagrant than usual. I think primarily because of how goofy the source of the discourse is this time. Like, what is happening? Have we hit the bottom of the barrel? We're not even media literate enough to tackle this song? Are we all so intellectually destroyed that the sight of a lady with short hair dancing weird activates 650 subliminally messaged mental switches that turn us into feral morons? What are we doing? Like, what is going on?
I know what's going on. The feds won. They got us. They got us right where they wanted us. And we're here. And we're here to stay. Especially because I uploaded myself to...
Yeah, I want to end this video now, because I'm tired of it. But before I do, I'm just gonna spell it right out for you. Here are 2 things I want you to take away from this video. 1, never, ever believe anything anyone says on the internet unless a peer-reviewed source is directly cited. And I mean anyone! And if any claim whatsoever comes from Twitter or Reddit, you need to start at the furthest end of disbelief before engaging with it. Secondly, and finally, this one is very important. I'd like to think that this news-making tornado of misery that Home dredged up this August was the death knell, the final lap of its looping virality, but I don't know. So I say to you this: if this song ever goes viral again, everyone shut